Okay. Ah, got a sunny day today, don't we? All right, I switched networks. Let's see how this works. I had trouble with this network earlier. And we'll see. And I have another network on top of these two I can use if I have to. Um, all right. So Iran's acting up. They were using their go fast boats against an American warship escorting a merchant ship. So they're really acting up, and I don't know exactly what they're doing. They could be attempting to feel America out on closing the Persian Gulf. They did harass a British ship also. So we don't know yet what they're actually going to do. But America took a hard hand and shot the two drones down. So now Iran is confused, I'm sure. They don't know what to do. See, the unforgivable sin with Trump is taking out an aircraft carrier. The almost unforgivable sin is taking out a destroyer or a missile cruiser or a submarine. He won't put up with losing an aircraft carrier. The 11 aircraft carriers, plus there's another handful of these baby aircraft carriers that carry helicopters and vertical takeoff jets and stuff, which includes F-35s, and which is stealth, and they could fight multiple fronts at the same time with these ships. So Trump doesn't want to give that up at all. He'll lose that. Let me see how the live stream is behaving. The speed is not good. It's behaving. It's working though. All right. The speed is not good. It's working though. I don't even know how to put my post up in here today. Right. Oh, there it goes. I don't even know how to put my post up in here today. Oh, there it goes. This will just take a few seconds to get the post up. We had trouble in the morning early with the internet going on and all. This will just take a few seconds to get the post up. Can't pray that our internet holds up. That would be a good idea. We had trouble in the morning early with the internet going on and all. Can't pray that our internet holds up. That would be a good idea. We had trouble in the morning early. The internet. Can't pray that. All right. I'll call that working. Being a Bible believing site, let's do some praise. There is no God like Jehovah. 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 There is no Messiah like Yeshua. 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 Okay. So, so let's go through what's going on, and then we'll do our spiritual warfare. It's heating up. Okay. Before I forget, we do have a prayer request. Let me think. This is complicated. Okay, I'll put this prayer out, and then you can agree with it if you're a believer. My Heavenly Father Jehovah, I pray, B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach, for MP, Mike Papa MP Jr., that you protect MP Jr. from MP Sr. and end their fighting and disputes, and they get along. B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach, and you can agree with that. I think I got the drift of the prayer. Okay, there. We get simple prayer requests and we get complicated ones. This was kind of in between. All right. So the second drone was taken down. It's a little early to get all the details on that, but we'll get them as time rolls on this morning or this afternoon. I don't think it's false news, but it's possible, but I don't think so. The U.S. is transporting additional air defense systems to the Middle East. This time they're bringing them from Japan to Bahrain and Jordan. Now, what do we glean from this? Let me explain. If the war was going to happen in 2 or 3 weeks, they wouldn't bother troubling Japan and pulling them out of Japan. They'd come up with something a little more rational, okay? This is what you would call an emergency deployment of these air defense systems, where they had to borrow them from Japan. So what is going on here is a sense of urgency. The urgency can be that they're afraid of Iran doing a preemptive attack. Okay? The U.S. has been pulling a lot of assets out of different places and bringing them to the Middle East. Now, we're getting reports again that this is in addition to the 8 destroyers that showed up. There were also, or 7 of the 8 showed up, something like that. We're also getting reports that the Bush aircraft carrier with its escorts is going to be here now. Well, I told you January 13th, the Bush aircraft carrier left Norfolk, Virginia, going into the Atlantic, and nobody knows where it is or what it did or who's or what's it. So now it's going to pop up in the Middle East, I think. I expect it'll have 3 destroyers with it, just like the Abraham Lincoln. I guess using the Abraham Lincoln, the aircraft carrier, against Iran is a great idea if you want to have a civil war in Iran, because that's what Lincoln did, created a civil war in America. Just a joke. Okay. Uh, Lincoln was a bloodthirsty, rotten, stinking president. That's all you had there. And they built monuments to the Satan bot piece of crap. He was horrible. He was a lawyer. Um, so this business of weakening Asia, which is confronting China, to bolster up the Middle East front, is showing us this is like an emergency basis. Okay, so Trump is in a hurry about this. Okay. Now, this is not anything to do with Iran, but it's just sick. I think we need to hear this. The Mormon charities have funneled millions to Islamist groups tied to Hamas. So they're playing we're God's chosen people, not the Jews. A new study reveals that charities affiliated with the Church of Jesus Christ of the Latter-day Saints have donated over 100 million to nonprofits linked with radical Islamist movements, including those tied to Hamas. Global Relief, a Salt Lake City-based Mormon charity, gave at least 110 million to 10 radical Islamic organizations. Its top recipient, Islamic Relief, whose branches are linked to the Muslim Brotherhood and have cooperated with Hamas in Gaza. LOS Charities, the church official humanitarian arm, was also named in the report, but does not publicly disclose its financial records. The study was released by the Middle East Forum and raises serious concern about due diligence and unintended funding of extremist networks through charitable fronts. Okay, so the Mormons are not, any kind of a nice bunch of people. They're a lot of them are witches, and look what they do, and they run around. They say they have 12 apostles, and they have their own apostles. I mean, they're a pretty bunch of sick cookies, And now this, they have a nasty habit of joining the CIA and the FBI. There was so many of them some years ago in the CIA. They were calling the CIA Christians in Action, because a lot of people don't know any better and they think the Mormons are Christians. They're far from Christians, and Christians are far from the true gospel. They're all hung up on their phony prophet getting plates from God and seeing stuff, and it's bizarre. Watch bad stuff happen to them. God's not happy with what they did, I'm sure. Now, you need to be advised about Ramadan. This is a massive complication with this war about to pop with Iran. Ramadan is a very unusual holiday that the Muslims follow in many countries, for sure. And it's a weird one. It involves, I guess you would have to call it fasting, but it's closer to intermittent fasting than anything else I ever heard of. When the sun comes up till the sun goes down, they will not eat. They go to the mosque and pray. They'll work. It's a month-long holiday, and the women will cook during the daytime to get the meal ready for a feast in the evening. So, how do you do this? Well, you see, Ramadan appears in a different time of the year every year. It's not consistent. It's going to start around mid-February, roughly around the 15th of February, but we don't know because it's tied to the new moons appearing. So we don't know the date yet. Ramadan, for many years, it's not mandatory, but it happens often, becomes a very bloody holiday because the Muslim fanatics, the terrorists, get all holy feeling because of their fasting, and they rise up. Thinking that they're going to get a victory from God, whoever their God happens to be, because of their fasting. Now, how does this fasting work? Okay, let's just make it easy and say sunlight is 6 o'clock in the morning and sunset is 6 o'clock at night. So from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m., they cannot eat. Okay. Do they drink water? I don't know. Probably, but I don't know. So they get up at 5, make themselves 4 eggs, peanut butter and jelly sandwich, and a bowl of oatmeal, and some extra toast, and an apple, and stop eating by 6. And they filled themselves up quite well, didn't they? Okay. Now what? They can't eat till 6 o'clock at night. So 6 o'clock at night, the wife probably starts cooking at 2 or 3 in the afternoon. She makes, or the mother or whoever makes sort of a big meal, like a feast. And at 6 o'clock, they announce, okay, now you could eat. And then they eat. They eat a really big meal. And they probably nibble on it all night, you know? And then in the morning, they eat a big meal. So how hard is it to fast? Easy. You gorge yourself in the morning and then you gorge yourself at night. So what's the big deal? Nothing. I used to go out for brunch a lot, have a big brunch and not eat lunch and eat again in the evening. So that's a pretty easy thing to cook up, you know. So they rise up violently a lot during Ramadan. So what is Trump going to do? Carry the war on Ramadan? That will, without a doubt, get the Muslim states that Trump wants to be friends with, like Jordan, Saudi, UAE, Qatar, Bahrain, Kuwait, Oman, Turkey, and all of them angry as all get up for starting a war on their holy holiday. Although they start fights on their holy holiday all the time. So, what if Trump has decided to start the fight before? When they took the first drone down, somebody close to Trump said Trump is disgusted with this. Didn't use the word disgusted, fed up, and may just go on with the attack. Okay. All right. Now that was before the second drone. And that didn't take into account the go-fast boats. They're approaching American warships and commercial vessels with their go-fast boats. There was a British boat that was traveling around the Persian Gulf area, and they sent a small amount of go-fast, 3 boats, I think, to start, doing circles around this British ship and stuff. And the British ship called their bluff and just continued without paying attention to them. And nothing happened. See, this is Iran taking the temperature of how much guts the UK and America have. They're not going to do that with Israel because they know darn well how much guts Israel has. Okay, there's no point in testing Israel. They'll just get their head handed to them. So that ain't happening. So, America didn't do the right thing with the go-fast boats harassing a destroyer escorting it was a refueling boat that refuels Navy ships, So what is Iran thinking now? They're not very scared, they're mildly scared. Why? Because all America did was take down the drone. They didn't blow up the go-fast boats and kill the Navy guys in the boats, did they? No. So they didn't kill anybody yet. So Iran's not finished testing them yet. And Iran probably wants to do this before negotiations. But taking the second drone down is obviously pushing Iran into a bad emotional state because they're getting more and more the impression that there's a point when you're going to go after Trump, he's going to come after you. And that'll be very ugly for Japan. What Israel said is this. Israel said to the Americans, they said, look, whatever treaty or peace deal you arrive at with the Iranians, they're going to break it. My opinion on that, true. How true? 99.999% chance. There's always a chance they won't, but 99.99% chance they'll do it. They'll break anything because that's how they've been historically, and that's the way they do it with Islam terrorism. They insult you by breaking these things and testing you. The only thing they understand is what Israel does, bombs them, bomb, 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 bomb Iran, bomb, 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 bomb. That's all they understand. That they can relate to. Did that ever stop them from attacking Israel? No, they're psychotic. Ayatollah Shmuckmani is a psychopath. What do you think? All right, so so now we're at the point what's going to happen with Trump. I don't think Trump's at the point where he's going to attack him, but what we got here is they're supposed to have a meeting Friday, I believe, in Oman, which is on the Persian Gulf, or just outside the Persian Gulf is more accurate, into the Sea of Oman, to the east of UAE. That doesn't mean they're going to have anybody intermediary between Iran and America. See, Trump's big mistake is he lets these idiots say, well, we're going to have an intermediary. We're not going to talk to you. The reason they don't want to talk to Trump is because he's not a Muslim like them. He's a dog and an infidel and a piece of garbage, and they don't want to talk to him. So as soon as Trump gets involved with one of these deals where they got an intermediary in, you should walk away. Talk to us directly or we'll walk away. But he doesn't do that. I think Trump is buying time. That's what I think. And why is he buying time? Because there's a constant flood of weapons coming in. How long would it take for Trump to accomplish goals in the attack on Iran? Well, what are the goals? Trump's goals are to have the protesters take over and stuff like that. But we know what the Bible says. Iran and Iraq and possibly parts of Syria are going to be so devastated and broken up that people are going to be evacuating it, and they're going to go to every country in the world, and the sword will follow them, and they will be killed. That's what happens to them. And Trump may not know that. And it's not one country that does it. It's many countries that do it. Or several. It says enemies in the plural. So it's not just Israel. It's not just America. It could be to both of them. But enemies could mean two, but probably the way I read it, I think there'll be a few. Okay. France, UK, Germany, Italy, and a few others could be in on it. Maybe not. Could be. So this thing's not going to be, 4 or 5 days unless he does a punk out, I would think you're probably looking at 3 to 6 weeks, maybe 4 to 6 weeks, more like it. Something like that. And then that'll be gone, and Yemen also will be gone, maybe not at the same time. See, Trump knows that if he doesn't snuff out the Houthis in Yemen, which means Yemen, and he doesn't snuff out Iraq, there's going to be all sorts of very bad damage coming once the Iranian sub is, seen. Could it be more than 6 weeks? Yeah, it could be 3 months. Sure. Absolutely. There's rumors flying around that Israel's going to attack Iran first and go against America. I've lived here for many years. There's no indication of that. None. Not a thing. Not anything. If anything like that happened, which this time I doubt it would be Trump blowing kisses at Netanyahu and getting Netanyahu to attack Iran. And I see no indication of that. I think Trump and the Pentagon realized the problem the last time in June was that they let Israel prosecute the war. Now, does Israel care if Iran shuts the Persian Gulf? Reality? No. No. It's not going to affect us. It's Trump's problem. And it's the Iranian, the Muslim country squatting on our land that God gave us in Genesis 15 from the Euphrates to the Nile. We're not going to war over that, but America will. The issues on these negotiations are Iran wants to talk only about nuclear. What I'm sure the Israelis told Witkoff and Trump is that the only way you're ever going to get them to somehow, some way, some shape or form, shut the nuclear facilities off is not by having them reach a deal with you and saying they're going to shut them off. You got to be a moron to believe them. What you've got to do is what Trump originally said, have military people there witness or actually conduct the explosions and the demolition of the nuclear sites. And there's got to be at least 6 or 10 of them. Because then you'll be able to monitor them and see them building new nuclear sites. The ones destroyed will be under surveillance, so if there's any rebuilding, we'd pick it up. That's the way it should go. I don't know if it will ever go that way. So more stuff keeps coming in, more aircraft, more missile defense systems, more ships. I think in addition to the George Bush carrier, more destroyers and other kinds of boats are coming in. There are rumors of a third, the Bush is supposedly number 2 aircraft carrier to be here, and then there's supposedly going to be a number 3. I don't know. I think the number 2, the Bush, is probably pretty real, because we could go back to January 13th and realize it pulled out of Norfolk and it went into the Atlantic, and it's probably been hovering around someplace. And now Trump's going to materialize it like a magician. Will 2 aircraft carriers put a fear into Iran? No, not until they see Trump use them. Uh, okay, so tensions are very tense right now, and we're not even sure that there's going to be any negotiations in Oman on Friday. They got moved from Turkey. Um, the Iranians are saying we're just going to talk nuke, nothing else. And what Trump really wants, he wants economic support and weapons support and logistics and intel and any kind of support going to Hamas, Hezbollah, Palestinian Islamic Jihad, Iranian-backed militias and the Houthis and all that. He wants that stopped, as well as Iraq. He wants that stopped too. No more giving them weapons, money, military aid, guidance, and none of that. And I don't think there's a chance that they're going to give that up, the Iranians. No, no. And we got a real problem about Ramadan, which is going to probably go around approx February 15th to March 15th. The last week of Ramadan is especially bloody. So can Trump get in and get out before Ramadan? According to a general who's retired, no way. No way. Can Trump get in there and do some limited strikes and just leave? Yeah, but there'll be retaliations for a long time. It won't work. It looks to me like Iran's starting to test the waters for a blockade. The UK Maritime Trade Operations, UKMTO, that's a legitimate operator, okay, reports a security incident in the Strait of Hormuz off Iran's southern coast. According to the report, a vessel was approached and surrounded by several small armed boats. These are go fast boats. The ship um okay, so the British ship ignored the instructions to stop and to continued along its planned route. They probably wanted it to stop. They were going to board it and then point guns at the pilot of the boat and probably tell him to pull it into Iran. Um, Ship ignored the instructions to stop and to continue along its planned route. Um, so it looks like this is the beginning of a blockade. This is how it would work. And the British were probably on the horn screaming bloody murder to get some British aircraft or planes or boats out there or American warships out there to get rid of the threat. And I think the go fast boats got, I would think, cold feet and didn't go through with it all the way. Maybe they got a phone call from the UK that went something like this: I'm going to drop 3,000 bombs on your bodies in your country if you do anything to my people in that ship. You'll never have a navy again, stuff like that. Now we have another incident. So I told you we had the first Iranian drone loitering near the USS Abraham Lincoln, I think 2 miles after being warned to stay clear. It could have had missiles it could shoot. We don't know what it was going to do. I'm sure the Americans had a good idea. They didn't feel comfortable. Iranian gunboats surrounded the U.S. flagged tanker called Stena Imperative, which is part of the U.S. Navy's tanker security program. This is not the same as the British ship, you understand? So there was 2 drone incidences against the Abraham Lincoln aircraft carrier, and there were 2 of these go fast boat incidents. This is the other one. Maritime Risk Management Group, Vanguard, said the vessel remained in international waters, did not enter Iran's territorial Iraq. So maybe they didn't prosecute the attack because it wasn't in the Iranian waters, and they told the boat don't enter. So did the boat go in the Iranian waters after this? I'm not sure. Let's keep reading. I don't know. It did not enter. An Iranian Shahed 139 drone was shot down by USAF F-35 fighter as it flew towards the USS Abraham Lincoln. So you've got 4 incidents in like one day. Now, are they trying to soften up Trump by doing this? Gosh, that's a stupid idea. No. Okay. So Iran is moving. Look, guys, this is the beginning of the blockade. What do you think it is? Okay. A fire sale or something like that? No, this is the beginning of the Iranian blockade. They're testing the waters. They're starting the blockade. They don't know what the reactions are going to be. They're trying to feel it out. But I think they're going to proceed with the blockade, maybe during the negotiations. What Iran wants out of this, get this down, is not America says, oh, yeah, you could do this, you could have these planes, you could have these. They don't want that. They don't care what America thinks. what they want is sanction relief. And they're not going to negotiate with Trump unless he lets them off the hook on sanctions. That's it. So Iran says to Trump, okay, we won't pursue ballistic missiles. We'll stop our nuclear program. And then Trump says, okay, your sanction relief is here. You're free of sanctions. So there's, let's say, $5 or $8 billion in the bank that they give to Iran. And then Iran, or maybe more, maybe 20 billion, who the heck knows. And then Iran, acts like they're normal and picks up some money. And by the time they get, 80 or $100 billion in a few months, they're flush again, right? And then they start funding Hamas and Hezbollah and the Houthis and start making more missiles and start lying and denying it. And then, then what? Then Trump says, well, the sanctions are coming back because you broke your word. So they say, who cares? Look what we got. We pick up $100 billion or more, Somaliland, that's a breakaway country inside Somalia, which is not that far from Israel. It's on the Red Sea, and it's not that far from Israel. How would you get to Israel? You could you go? I don't think you could get into a lot from the Red Sea. I think you get near. Let me ask. Hold on. Can Somaliland get boats into Israel through the Red Sea by getting over to Eilat? Or does the Red Sea not actually allow them to get to Eilat? Yep, it can. Let's get a distance. What is the distance for this type of naval activity leaving Somaliland to Eilat by water via the Red Sea? It's about 500 nautical miles. Okay. So let's think. If the boat goes 15 miles an hour or something like that, it's like no more than 2 days tops. That's quick transit. And we made we're about to sign a trade deal with Somaliland. Is this good for Israel? This is superb for Israel. I'll keep explaining this to you. Somaliland, nobody's recognizing them but Israel. The play with Somaliland is we're going to take people from Gaza, we're going to give them money, and they're going to move to Somaliland, and you'll give them some kind of permanent residency with a path to being citizen. Now, these are Muslims coming over there to a Muslim country, but Somaliland's not lunatic Muslim. Okay, so and they'll have money, and it'll bolster your economy, and of course they'll have to spend the money in Somaliland because what'll happen is get the government to open them up a bank account in Somaliland, and Israel will transfer the money to Somaliland, which when they process their immigration, the money will drop into their account. And it might get doled out little by little, or it may come all at once, probably all at once. Okay, so Somaliland has a lot of minerals like lithium for batteries. That's a big deal. So Israel could start banging out lithium batteries and selling them because they're going to give us sweetheart deals here. We're the only country recognizing them. They're going to give us a good deal. Okay, minerals, oil. Hey, they'll give us a good deal on petrol, LNG. I don't think we need that. Agriculture, we have plenty of agricultural products. They might have some grown food products that, vegetables and fruit that would be good for Israel, but I'm not thinking that's a big deal. They might have good coffee. Coffee grows on like a big bush and you got little beans hanging off it. They might have that. I have no idea. Um, um, uh, Israel needs a lot of minerals for the production of different things. They also have fish and meat. Now, what's going to happen there, in my humble opinion, but I think I know what I'm talking about. A bunch of these ultra Orthodox rabbis are going to go over there to a meat packer in Somaliland and they're going to supervise and take a big hunk of money, uh, making sure that the meat coming from Somalia and even the fish, although you don't, they'll do it anyway. Are they going to be kosher, and then they'll start shipping it to the supermarkets, flash frozen more than likely, which is pretty darn good. And what's that going to mean? Well, I don't know exactly what kind of fish they're going to get, but they'll get fish at a good price and sell it here at a good price, and it'll be cheap in the supermarkets compared to the Israeli fishermen that go out in the Mediterranean. The Mediterranean and the Red Sea likely are going to have different kind of fish. Now comes meat. So they've got meat there. So what are the meats that are going to be popular to do in Israel is chicken and beef, basically, and they'll give them good prices on that. This is a good deal for Israel. What are they going to want from Israel? Rifles, artillery, um, naval vessels. We make and sell Navy vessels, big ones too, like destroyer types. We do that. Iron Dome, maybe. They're definitely going to want eavesdropping and surveillance equipment, so they could monitor conversations. They want stuff for the soldiers, assault rifles, and different kinds of things, military predominantly. And Israel has, top tier stuff, right up in the top two or three, so yeah, they'll get a good price and they'll have a lot of products, and the trade will go very well. They'll also want a lot of our medical stuff, our medicines that we make. Tiva and stuff makes them in Israel, and they'll want pharmaceuticals and medical equipment, and we're pretty good at that. And we got great AI. We'll give them some of that, and they'll learn all about anti-hacking. We'll it'll be a good relationship. Uh, it's a very rich country in natural resources, but I don't think it's getting anywhere uh, with selling in the international market because they broke off from Somalia in a way that a lot of the UN wants to take the side of Somalia, and they don't like what Somaliland did. Israel can care less, and I'll tell you what else could go on there too. I think it's a security risk, but some Israelis might go over there and open up a kosher hotel. In other words, a hotel with a restaurant that's kosher. And, I don't know what you're going to get. You're going to have to pay at night to stay in a nice resort in Somaliland near the water, $89 or something with breakfast. I don't know, $50. I mean, it's going to be cheap. And Israelis may go over there, but I wouldn't do it. It's a Muslim majority country, as far as I know. And, you got a problem with other Muslim countries. Let's check, make sure it is Muslim majority. Let's quickly check that. Is Somaliland a Muslim majority country? Yes. Overwhelmingly Muslim majority. 99% Muslim, entirely Sunni. Yeah, those are the ones that don't go for the stupid lies that the Shiites put out. So they really don't mind the Israelis, and they'll see the tie between Abraham, and they're not worried about it, So this could work. It could work. The UAE is in this sane Sunni league, and they made an Abrahamic Accord with Israel, and Israelis go over there all the time. There's a lot of first of all, the UAE is stone cold safe. Okay, you could walk around the UAE. Your wife could wear a $4 or $5 million necklace, and you could wear a $500,000 watch, and nobody's going to rob you. They run a tight ship. There's no street crime or anything like that. There's no street drug dealers. There's no street prostitutes, and then there's no street crime. And that it's pretty easy to deal with. So, yeah. So yeah, it'll work out. At least in the short time, it'll work out. I think it'll be good because it'll drop probably beef, chicken. Well, let's see what kind of. Well, I mean, I know the meat. I mean, they might have goat, and you could eat goat in Israel. I mean, that's a clean food according to the rabbis, and you could eat lamb too, but that's kind of on the side, The big is the beef and the chicken. Okay. An illegal biolab owned by Chinese nationals was located in Las Vegas. The CDC identified at least 20 potential infectious agents, including HIV, tuberculosis, and the deadliest form of malaria. A refrigerator labeled Ebola was later discovered. The lab's stated purpose was selling test kits, but it mainly supported and resold counterfeit kits from China. No. Okay. So it looks like Iran is trying to intimidate Trump because what he wants is to scare Trump to get the sanctions relieved. I'm not thinking Trump's going to play ball with them at all. The proper Lebanon government says Hezbollah refuses to hand over its weapons north of the Litani River. So, okay. So we're going to keep attacking and bombing them. There were recently 5,600 special forces brought into the area here, the Middle East area. And now Trump is bringing more special forces in, but we don't know how many. So I don't know how many it's bringing. I understand now there's 11 U.S. Navy ships in the region, but it might be, I don't know. It's probably accurate. It might be 12, actually. 8 destroyers and then the Lincoln plus 3 others. So I don't know how many more special forces. Why is he bringing special forces? They also have these ships that you could call landing ships here too. So what is he going to actually do? Put soldiers on the ground in Iran? It's a death trap. I don't think the soldiers will live. The military and the militia and the citizens there are so psychotic. Iran will hand out AK-47s to the Muslims. They'll do it through the mosques. And they'll just, play the jihad game and the 70 virgins in heaven and start killing any Americans they can kill. I don't know what he's doing. they stopped in Europe on their way to the Middle East, so he might not have a place to put them yet in the Middle East, but they can get from Europe. I think they might be in Spain or Germany. They can get from there to the theater in the Middle East in an afternoon or something. It's no big deal. Um, we now have had the second Iranian diplomat to submit to hand in a request for political asylum. This was a guy named Koam Reza Darikyand. He was a senior Iranian diplomat in Vienna, Austria, and submitted a request for political asylum in Switzerland. I don't know what Switzerland's going to do. They get a lot of money banked in their country from Muslims. People have told me, I've never been in Switzerland, when you go to the hotels in Switzerland and you get up on business, and you get up in the morning and you're going to have breakfast in the hotel, there's a breakfast area for non-Muslims and another one for Muslims. So that's a bad sign. So Switzerland may tell them no, but Switzerland might also let them have it. I don't think Switzerland cares about Iran, but they care about the other Muslims. I think that Trump would give the guys asylum because they could put the guy on Fox with Hannity. What do you think's going on? Oh, they hang people upside down by their thumbs and, torture them, and, burn them alive. And, that Trump would like that. So sources are coming in, OSINT, it's saying sources, open source intelligence, are reporting that despite the downing of the Iranian UAV today, this is probably written in the evening or something, near the American aircraft carrier Abraham Lincoln, another second Iranian UAV drone is conducting patrols in the area, and it was taken down. This UAV had a call sign on it, SCP-2576. It's getting hot. Let's not kid ourselves. A military source to Channel 14 News in Israel about the meeting with Witkoff. We warned the American that the Iranians will violate any agreement and that there is no point in trying to reach one. I wholeheartedly agree. It's stupid. The Quran tells them to make deals with people and then break them when it's convenient. So what do you think they do? Under an agreement, they will not dismantle their nuclear and missile capability. And part of the reasons they are trying to buy time is apparently to transfer offensive weapons to hiding places. So they're trying to stash weapons now. If they're not going to stash everything, but if they use up what they didn't stash, then they just go dig up what they stashed and keep going. Uh, it sounds good to me. See, they'll say, "Oh, we're not going to do any nuclear. We'll only go to 20%, not 60%. But we're not going to knock off our nuclear activities. We're not going to close them." Well, what they're basically saying is we're not giving up our facilities because we're going to break this treaty one day, and we don't want to have to rebuild. That's what they're saying. So Iran changes the venue to Oman, and of course Trump says, "Yeah, okay, I'll go to Oman." See, this is the way they work: pushing, pushing, pushing. The goal in Iran would be, the mother lode to Khomeini is to take out that aircraft carrier. If that thing sinks, he'll be the happiest moron on the planet. So Iran just wants the focus of these talks to be on the nuclear stuff, and they're not going to dismantle or blow up their nuclear facilities. So they're just setting Trump up to breach the contract, and that's that. UNRWA aid bags, humanitarian aid bags, were used to conceal 110 mortars in Gaza. A weapons cache was found by the IDF in an Israeli held area. That's pretty sad that the UNRWRA or whatever it is, RWA, I don't know, it's UNRWA actually does that. These are some of the reasons Trump is fed up with them. It's not an impartial, it's supposed to be an impartial organization, and it's anything but that. More than 2 years into the war, IDF forces found rockets and about 110 mortar shells concealed in UNRWA aid sacks and blankets in southern Gaza in territory under Israeli military control. Netanyahu has some new militias in Gaza, and they were operating the Rafah crossing, and they're saying anyone who works with Hamas will pay anti-Hamas militias police Rafah crossing with Gaza residents. The Gaza residents say that the local militias cooperating with Israel have taken control of Rafah crossing. we're getting reports that seem valid that Trump is considering walking away from the Iranian talks after the first drone confrontation without the go-fast boats and without the second drone confrontation. So Trump may never go, or he may never send anybody on Friday. We don't know. Khan Yunis clan says Israeli-backed militia kidnapped 4 members of, denies their link to Hamas. 3 men killed in a highway shooting near Tira, Tira, that cops say is linked to blood feud. So we're getting reports that Trump is hanging tough on 4 things he wants with these negotiations with Iran. Renunciation of the nuclear program, which means dismantling or blowing up the sites. That is not in there. I'm putting that in there because that was his position in the past. He knows they'll lie and go back on their word. So if you destroy it, well, then it takes a year or so to build it back up again. Halting the long-range ballistic missile program, cessation of funding for proxy organizations across the Middle East, Hamas, Hezbollah, the Houthis, and Iranian-backed militias, and so forth. And then Trump wants proper treatment of demonstrators in Iran participating in protests against the regime. Well, that means he wants the protesters to overthrow the government in Iran. Never going to agree to that. Then we're hearing the president of Iran did not receive a green light from so they're saying that Khomeini never gave a green light for any flexibility in the nuclear negotiations. So it seems that they're only going to talk about nukes and nothing else. It's not going to work. This is funny. The Iranian security channel affiliated with the regime is publishing footage which, according to them, shows a test flight of a new Mi 28NE missile. Oh no, this is an attack helicopter manufactured in Russia. He's got a couple of dozen of these. He's got to get people trained to fly them, but he's keeping them. They're not gonna. All right. It's a lot of news today, and it's all leading to things are going to get hot in Iran. Now, we want to talk about Iran getting hot. We still got more news. Last night, it's comical already. Last night in Iran, there was a number of explosions and power outages in several cities, including Tehran. There was, I think, multiple explosions. And what are they going to say? It was a gas leak again. They're not saying anything. Somebody's hitting them. There's three possibilities. The numero uno is a tie, Israel or America. And then the third possibility is the protesters. But this is being done very professionally. And I don't know how the explosives are getting on target. I don't know. These explosions are war against Iran, and they're not admitting it. So they're punking out too. Now, what I thought I would do today is educate you on the missile cities that Iran has. Okay? And we are aware of, with open source intelligence, we're aware of 24 cities. Missile cities. Now, there is a strong suspicion that there's hundreds of them. Now, what is a missile city? It's an underground fortified missile launching site that can have a lot of missiles in it, and it's not completely automatic. It's partially mechanized. It's not, so they do have soldiers in there, typically IRGC. Hang on, I got to delete some stuff so I can get to this correctly. Okay. These missile cities are manned. They're underground, and their bases in reality, but they're not fully automatic, and they got launch systems. They're run by the IRGC, and how do the missiles actually launch and get up into the air if they're underground, right? That's a good question. They have hidden tunnels. They have different approaches. I'll give them to you. A hidden tunnel. So the missiles are stored horizontally in tunnels, which are underground, hard to get to, like on mountains and stuff. So they just go in on the side of a mountain and they got hundreds of feet of rock over it. It's a problem. Maybe that's why special forces are coming in so they could detonate these missile cities somehow. I don't know. I don't know yet. All right. So they're rolled on transporter erector vehicles in the tunnel. The missiles are many tons, a big missile. They're moved through long underground tunnels. They're raised near a concealed exit. It's often described as terrain, so it would have, dirt and vegetation on it and look like it's some valid, you know, just the outdoors, the wild outdoors. Um, so they fire them after the doors or blast doors or a cover opens. Okay, these missile cities can make them look like they're in a hillside or they're warehouse. Could look like a warehouse. It could be desert rock faces, imitation rock. Could be rubber rocks. These openings to get the missile out from the missile city are not open all the time. They're sealed until the launch. So they could be sealed. They could be like 4-inch thick steel, not so easy to get through, right? Uh, some of the missiles are kept vertically in hardened silos, and the missile fires straight up, and the blast doors or the caps open at launch, and similar to the Cold War missile silos, okay, but they're concealed. There are harder to hide uh, once known because then you got them registered. Once they use the missile city, it's pretty hard to conceal it anymore because America and Israel could get a good GPS fix on where the missile originated from. So, like I said, it's common knowledge about 24 of these missile cities, but there could be another 300 of them that are unknown. So after they have a tunnel and they get the missile out there and launch it, then they withdraw the missile back inside the tunnel to protect it, or the missile launcher rather, or they may try to move it in another location. Um, how they can detect these missiles. They can use drones. They can use infrared sensors. They could have things flying over the terrain and examining the terrain, stuff like that. The problem Iran has is decoys. They've built missile city sites that aren't missile city sites. Just on the surface, it looks like that. So you attack it and there's nothing there. So why is Iran resorting to missile cities? Because they don't have any air superiority. That belongs to America and Israel. And surface bases would just be destroyed right away. They don't have any naval superiority either. They have ground superiority in terms of an invasion into Iran. It would probably require 3 million soldiers. So they're in pretty okay shape there. These missile cities don't make Iran unstoppable. It drags out the amount of days and weeks it'll take to bomb them out and get them to stop launching missiles and blowing things up. When you consider they're going to blow up all the oil refineries and ports and piers in the Middle East and the American bases, it's pretty scary. And it's probably going to take too long to shut them down before they do this. So Trump's worried. Now, what about mobile missile launchers? These are dangerous. Can they launch mid range and long range missiles on mobile missile launchers? Yes. What is a mobile missile launcher? It's a trailer that launches one large missile, okay? And it has a radar thing with it, okay? A radar dome. It's a long trailer, and they pull it around with a cab, like a tractor trailer cab, not a cab, the Kenilworth, thing that pulls the trailer, right? Okay, so it's mobile. So you never know where it's stationary. It's one thing to have a stationary missile that you know where it is and you could hit it with another missile or blow it up with bombs or whatever, right? But when you don't know where it is, and every day or every week it's in a different location. What do you do? Well, it makes it difficult. Can these missile launchers be reloaded? Yes. What is the time to reload a medium or long range missile? 12 to 48 hours. Yep. Can you reload one of these missile launchers out in the wilderness when you're under attack, out in the wild while you're being attacked? No. It's a very delicate kind of, not super delicate, but you got many tons of weight in these missiles, many tons. So not a question of four guys picking it up and carrying it over like a rocket, something, like that's anti-tank or something. Yeah, you can carry it around, or even a Katusha, you could carry it around, but not this, not even close. You couldn't even carry it with a pickup truck. You'd need a full tractor trailer rig to pull it, okay? So, what they need to do to reload it is get it someplace safe. And you can't hide it under trees. You got to use a crane to pick the missile up from where it's being stored and manipulate it very carefully into position and lower it down. And then you got to do all kinds of setups and hookups and radar. You got electronics. You got a lot of work. The minimum amount of time, they say, is 12 hours. It could take so much more time, and it's so dangerous that a lot of times they'll just abandon the missile launcher. Why? Because the GPS coordinates are coming into Israel or America. This is where this missile came from. And then jets are coming in and dropping bombs on it. Missiles are aiming for it. Planes are shooting small missiles and rockets at that exact location. So they get the heck out of there. It's very dangerous to be there. So they might unhook the tractor trailer and just leave the missile launcher there, and whatever happens may. Okay? Or they sometimes will take it and pull it and put it inside a parking lot in a building. Okay? Put it in a parking lot in the building, and they might just hide the truck or leave the missile launcher someplace. So they get so nervous they're going to get killed. They'll just unhook the tractor trailer and get the heck out of there with that. And planes coming in aren't going to know that was the truck that was pulling the missile launcher. It won't know, but it'll pick up the missile launcher. They know what that looks like, and it's easy to blow it up. So they could be single use, and they could be taken and stored and reused, but not immediately. It's like, next day kind of thing, or, 12 hours is your minimum on that, okay? The difficulty we got here is they've got hundreds of these mobile missile launchers. They're estimating 200 to 600. That's huge. If they try to reload it after they fired the missile off the missile launcher, it's like a suicide trip, because planes and missiles and artillery, everything, you don't know what is going to come in on that location, but something's going to come in on that location. And if they're there playing the reload game, they're going to get blown into smithereens. You got a lot of inspection checks, balancing, it's not easy. Many times they just fire the launcher and they abandon it. They just write it off. They got a missile off and they just write it. That means they're writing off the radar. And they might just write off the trailer, or they might have to actually lose the tractor with it. I don't know. But that's what goes on. And they can be dangerous because they can carry long-range missiles. And you combine that with the missile cities, and you got a problem, okay? So the analysis on this is basically, you can take Iran out, but you're going to have a price to pay. I don't think Trump's going to get anywhere. He might be trying to work a plot with, or a military tactical scenario, I should say, with special forces. Coming in, he might have 10,000 of them or something, and breaking them up into small crews and trying to get them to go around and blow up the missile cities. I don't know how they would do it because the ordnance is so big to blow that up. What they could do is they could pick up the coordinates and transmit them, and then they probably want to get a mile away or something, and then the jets come in and drop bunker busters and blow the daylights out of the thing, and they make good their escape and they get out of there. That could definitely occur, but I don't really understand how you're going to have special forces running around in Iran when you have probably in the vicinity of 1 million armed people, regular infantry, IRGC, the militia volunteers, and then you've got, intelligence agents, you've got police, you got over 1 million probably. What are you going to do with them? I mean, police will try to shoot them. I mean, what the heck do you do? Maybe he's saving the special forces for chaos, okay, after the bombing, after 3 or 6 or 7 days of bombing, likely things are so bad, then these guys could get brought in on a submarine in the Persian Gulf and sneak in, or they could get airdropped into mountains, or I don't know how, come in through Azerbaijan. Maybe they're already hiding in the country. I don't know. Listen, the special forces guys are good, okay? But I've known guys in them, and what they say is, when we're doing operations, if we get seen, we're dead. He was a recon Marine. He went on further to tell me, he says, yeah, we practice all the drills, We practice running and dropping a clip while we're running. And that means they take a 40-round magazine and they fire 40 rounds at the enemy coming after them while they're running with accuracy and viability. And he says, but if I get seen, I'm dead. We're dead. They'll tell you the same thing. I mean, because they're a small amount of guys. What do you got usually 6, 8, 12. You don't have 114 or anything. You might have a dozen in a big operation, probably more like 6 or 8, and maybe 10. I don't know. You're not going to have big numbers, and they get seen by, 80 soldiers, 200 soldiers. What are they going to do? These soldiers are raining bullets down on them and approaching and coming in on all sides and flanking them. Then they're calling for airstrikes, drone strikes, plane strikes, artillery strikes, mortar strikes, for armored vehicles to come in and strafe them with machine guns. they've got a very, very short window of time to get the heck out of there. So they got to call for an exfiltration, and that may or may not happen because of the helicopter coming in can be destroyed. And now you didn't save your special forces, and you lost more special forces on the helicopter plus the helicopter. So you got to balance what are you doing. Now, maybe you could bomb the troops that are attacking your special forces with Apache helicopters and planes and shoot missiles at them and drones at them. Yeah, that would work. You could do that. Yeah. And save the guys that way. Even if it's 200 or 300 guys hunting them down, you could do that. But, you got to make sure that when the timing of this happens, the special forces don't get told, we don't have anybody in the air right now. Everybody's occupado. What are we going to do? Then you're dead. Special forces is a good way to get yourself killed. Okay. The guy I knew spent, I think, 3 years in the sandbox, and he cut out of it, and he went to work like as a security guard for $8 or $9 an hour. He was miserable. He was a recon Marine, and then he goes back to the Marines and say, I don't know, I want to re-enlist. What would happen? And they said, well, within 30 days, you'll be back in the sandbox. And he said, no. He was scared. He didn't want to do it. He felt that it was too dangerous. You're out there, you're running operations. If you get seen, you're killed. You're never going to get out of it. Maybe. Like if you watch SEAL Team 6 on television, yeah, they get out of it, But some of them did get killed on the TV show. And the leader of the team, SEALs Team 6 was probably still is a very special forces. It's the elite of the elite. And the guy that was in charge of it had a book, and he had a big, long list of people that got killed. I mean, you get killed in this. One guy they did on the TV show got killed, and he said he left a letter to the other guys. If you're reading this, I didn't make it, but don't worry. I knew this could happen all along. And I never got married. I never got a pet. I don't have a cat or a dog. I don't even have flower pot. So no problem. And, nobody's going to miss me and blah, blah, blah. All the guys care about is special forces. Let me tell you what it becomes like. It's like joining Hell's Angels or a motorcycle club like the Mayans or some other motorcycle club. Okay. Violence, yes, in both of them. People that join it have a need to belong with this thing. They want to prove how tough they are, how they want to be the baddest one in town. It's not that, okay? There's all kinds of baddest ones in town. You could be the baddest one in town with a knife, with a gun, completely different, with no weapon, completely different, with military grade weapons, with a tank, and they don't know that, and they get into it, and they wind up, realizing, hey, gee, I could get killed. Guys go into the motorcycle gangs, right? And getting out of the motorcycle gangs isn't so easy. The criminal ones, when you get old and you can't ride anymore, you're out. They let you, what are they going to do? Suicide, you're trying to ride a bike when you're, old. You can't, yeah, they let them out, Can they come back and visit? And yeah, they're well received. Okay. How else can you get out? Well, you get crippled. You can just you go down with your bike and you lose legs or arms, or you're not, you can't ride. Well, then you're out with honors, as they would say. Or you go to jail and you're out. How do they make sure you don't roll over? You see, the leaders of the Hells Angels gangs and all these motorcycle gangs are Satan bots. The leaders of the Green Berets and the Navy SEALs are Satan bots. And they use these people as cannon fodder. Okay? So if you're good enough to survive being in regular Navy SEALs or regular recon Marines for 2 years or something like that, you've been on a lot of missions, maybe 8, and you survived, uh, and everybody likes you and you're faithful and loyal, then they'll start considering putting you in a more elite unit, and then you got to take a test for that and, you know, stuff like that. And they just want to work their way up into the elite unit. But that's all these guys care about. And that's why their divorce rate is practically 100%. They're all infatuated and involved with special forces. That's their life, their brothers, as they call it. They're all involved in that. Okay. And they get killed. And they know they could get killed. So they're not like regular soldiers or regular Marines or Air Force or Coast Guard or Navy. They're something different. Okay. And it's really dangerous. And they like killing. They like killing. If they didn't like killing, they wouldn't do it. They wouldn't be there. They kill. They kill. And they don't kill like a pilot dropping a bomb where it's very distant or a drone operator. They get dirty, you know. So what is the motorcycle gang guy doing? We probably have to deal with motorcycle gang guys uh when Yeshua appears and stuff like that. You think every last one of them is going to get killed? I don't. You don't think there's some Israelis and lost tribes in there? I do. Yeah. But what makes it, so important, with them? They typically are guys that have been in trouble with law enforcement. That's pretty much the norm. They like motorcycles and they love motorcycles. And they got an inclination for violence and criminality. Okay. Somebody that's a college professor that drives a Harley, works on his bike, and gets up Sunday morning at 6 o'clock with his friends and they go for a ride and they come back by 10 o'clock so they beat the traffic. That's not a gang banger. That's not a guy joining the motorcycle clubs, okay? He might join a make believe motorcycle club where all they do is ride around and stop and, eat, drink beers or something. That's not, them. These people are dealing in contraband. They deal in weapons. They deal in narcotics. They deal in prostitution. They deal in pornography, extortion, um, shakedowns, and they're gangsters. They're like the Al Capone and gangs in the 20s. They're like that on motorcycles. They shoot people. They beat people up. They some people try to they portray them in a light that's completely false. They're bad people, and they join the gang and they get status and power, and they walk around proud because they're part of this gang and they have friends now that are in the gang and it's a family to them. And this family is an evil family that does a lot of evil things and hurts a lot of people constantly. And it's Satan bot run. And some of them will be introduced into Satanism and some won't. And you see what they early on, they're told to do things. And if they get caught, they're going to go to jail for, 3 years, 12 years, depending on their priors, a long time, 15 years. And how do they stop them from rolling over? If you're 33 years old, you've been in jail a little bit, little stints, a year, 2 years, 3 years here and there, you know, uh, you've been in county jail 30, 60 days, you have a record and you get caught with something, you did something bad, you had a gun on you when you did it, maybe you shot at the cops or something like that. And then, they're going to give you, 17 years or something like that, right? You're saying, well, I'm going to get out, I'm going to be 50. Can I do 17 years? Now there's people you talk to them and they'll say, yeah, they can do 17 years. Now, when you get 17 years as a sentence, you don't get to go to uh, a light security prison because you're at a risk strictly on the length of your sentence increases the risk you are. So you're going to be at least in medium security, maybe even a high security setting. You're going to be in a bad place. You're not going to be locked up in some special hole somewhere, in a max facility. They're not going to categorize you that way, but you're going to have a long time in prison, and they're worried about this kind of person rolling over. So how do you stop that? Well, they stop it the same way the Satan gangs do it and all the other stuff. They're all Satan run. The people don't know it. They get pictures and locations on the family, on the parents, the brothers and sisters, stuff like that. Photos where they live, information about them, and then you can join. So if you roll over, they kill your family. So if you start giving them up, you lose your mother, your father, your sisters, your brothers, your wife, your children. You don't want to do that. Your grandparents, whatever. So they don't roll over. So what do? They sit there, they go into the prison, they hook up, or they call it click up with another gang, other gangs, and they become gangbangers in the prison, and a lot of them will be in prison for 25, 30 years. They assault people, kill people. These are not nice people. Like you look at that motorcycle, I don't remember what they called it. It ran for 4, 5, 6 years about a motorcycle gang, and those are not nice people. They're not nice people. And they'll hurt you. Now, the way they generally operate, if you're what they would call maybe a civilian, in other words, you got a real job or a real business, you don't get involved in street gangs or crime, or, you're not buying drugs from them or stolen televisions or counterfeit money or weapons or anything like that. They're not going to go bother you because you're going to go call the cops and run to the cops, and the cops will respond. And they could get long prison sentences because a tremendous amount of them have prior records. And, now I don't know how I've thought about this. How do they ride around on a motorcycle and conceal guns? How do they deal with that when the cops shake them down? Because I know I was a cop when I was young, and I know I don't think there's any way they can conceal a gun in a motorcycle. At least any way they can get to the gun in a few seconds, or less than 4 or 5 minutes. So I don't know how they could do it. I've experimented for years. You can't conceal a pistol on your person where it won't get picked up. You just can't. You can buy these little guns like this. They're 4 inches long. They're about that high. One's called the Bauer. Browning made one in 25 caliber. Browning made a great one. Bauer copied it in stainless steel, and other companies make them. They usually have 6 in the clip, 1 in the chamber, 25 caliber ammo, which is junk. The only way you make 25 caliber ammo work, 20.25 ACP. The only way you're going to make that work is to get armor-piercing bullets, which is a crime because it's putting it in a pistol. And what that would do is make a hole clean through you. Now, you could get the similar gun in a 22. It's not going to do you much good, okay? It's just not going to do it, all right? So you can't just have that kind of gun. It won't work. If somebody, I know somebody, they had an accidental discharge, and it was a guy in his house, his parents' house or something, and the bullet hit a brake front, which is a piece of furniture that has wood and glass panels on it, and inside you display little knickknacks and stuff, plates or porcelain dolls or whatever you're into. And the bullet hit the glass, and it broke the glass and fell down on the shelf in there. So if you have a big, thick leather jacket, it may not even go into a person. I mean, it's not a viable gun. So you're going to have to get, at least you should get a 380, which is about a 95 grain bullet at about 850 feet per second. That'll borderline stop somebody. Or a 38 special 5-shot revolver would be much better choice. And where the heck are you going to hide it? Put it in your boot? It's going to come up. Anything in your clothing, it's going to come up. You're not going to be able to hide it in your mouth. Where are you going to put it? On the bike? Where? In the saddlebag? Open the saddlebag. Step back. I'm looking in your saddlebag. And you're going to find it. Under the seat. Well, the cop may not want to go that far. They can maybe get away with it. Have a big seat cushion that has a cutout in there or something, and you have the gun stuck in this foam in the seat cushion, fold it up, and the cop may not pick it up. It depends how much due diligence how hard he wants to look. Maybe you got some sort of fender in there and you can put it up inside the fender and it won't actually hit the wheel, but then it's going to be getting dirt and oil and grease, and it's not going to be usable, and it's going to be a piece of junk. That wouldn't work. You could, of course, put it in the gas tank sealed in plastic or something like that, but that's a common place to put drugs and money, so they look in there. Yeah, you open it, you got a flashlight. That's one way. You could stick your collapsible baton in there and move it around and then see what it hits. And then you could just wash it off in the bathroom or service station or something like that. How you going to get, I don't know how you would conceal it. There's no place in your body. You take even a little 25, we're going to put it under your arm. They'll pat it. In between your legs, they'll pat it. In between your butt cheeks, you're not going to be able to do that. You're going to have what you could do, have a special boot made, right? And you could wear cowboy boots riding a bike. You get away with that. Or you could wear motorcycle, or they call them engineer boots or something. Get a big heel on it. You only need about 1.5 inches or 2 inches. 1 3/4 would be enough. And have that heel where you could snap it off or pivot it and put your little 25 in there and then put it back. And the only way they would really pick that up is if they were strip searching you and they had you take your boots off and they pick the boot up, they put gloves on, stick the hand in, they'd feel the weight of one boot is different from another. Then they would go to a metal detector and they'd see something's wrong, and then they'd smack the heel open and you're caught. But yeah, you might escape with it if they don't have you take your boots off. That could work. But it's real. How you're going to get it out, though? It's going to take you 5 minutes to get it out or something. It doesn't go well. There's no real way you could get a pen that looks like a pen, and you can pull it back and let go, and it'll shoot a 22 or a 25. It'd be accurate up to about 1 yard, and it wouldn't hurt anybody very much. So, what do how do you hide a gun? I don't know how these guys do it. I guess that's why the jails are full of them. They get caught. I don't know why. You're riding a motorcycle with the colors on, Mayans or some other gang, right? Death Lords or, baby slayers or whatever they call themselves, right? And you're riding around and they stop you, and then, it's like 1968. You're driving a Volkswagen van going to a rock concert with flowers painted on it, and and you've got long hair, and the police are going to be pretty confident if they stop you and go through your van, they're going to find marijuana. You're a hippie. Okay, so it's the same with these guys. You stop them and you go through it, you're gonna find guns because they're murderers. They're killers. What do you think they are? Okay. Um, Maybe they have a van follow the crew, but the guy has the guns in the van, and if he has the van looking innocent, he has a much higher chance of nothing happening, and he could secret a compartment in the van without that much trouble that might escape detection easily, Um, you know, but so they have you do stupid things in the beginning, and then you get caught. If you manage to get away with the stupid things after a few years, then they think you're a smart guy, and then they promote you, and then now you're no longer doing stupid things all the time. You're training and administering other people to do stupid things all the time, high risk things. Okay, that's what they got. So it's um, it's once I remember seeing two guys. It was late at night, about I don't know, 11, 12 o'clock at night. I was coming home from somewhere from San Francisco. Two Hells Angels, I think they were, run out of their house, jump on their choppers, fire them up, and take off in the middle of the night. Now, I mean, it's obvious that they were doing something violent or dangerous, right? It's it's just ridiculous. So yeah, so things in the Iran America arena are getting hotter, and it looks more and more like something's going to break out. It already did break out. Iran's trying. So Iran is maybe they're going to back off, which I doubt. I think what Iran's going to try to do is do more blockade activities and harass the American ships more and more with go fast boats and with drones. They've got tons of go fast boats. They're disposable to them. They don't care. They got tons of drones. They don't care. And I think if Iran has a lucky shot, they may tag the aircraft carrier and try to sink it. It may be worth it to them for the political value and try to rally all the Muslims in the world up to their cause or something like that. These are sick cookies, okay? They're crazy people, like a motorcycle gang people, okay? That's what they're like. You know, in the Vietnam War era, the Hells Angels approached the Americans and they said, "Send us to Vietnam. Just let us bring our motorcycles. We'll take care of them for you." Well, they wouldn't have lasted. They just would have all been gotten killed by snipers, sneak attacks, claymore mines. They would have just been gone. It wouldn't work because you're dealing with a bunch of people that are ready to kill you, know how to be killers like you, and have no fear of the law, and that's not a good thing. Uh, you know, if these motorcycle gangs have clashes at you know places like Highway, stops on highways and they shoot each other instead. What do you think? You're dealing with crazies, but they may come into the gospel. I don't think we'll have a lot of them, but I think some of them may come in. It'll be interesting, but yeah. So we'll do our spiritual warfare. Let me take a break for a minute, and we'll come back and we'll get into it. I'm not going to be long. You here? Oh. Hi. That's your bed. You can lay on it. It's okay. Enjoy it. You know the water's off, right? Yeah, I know this. Okay. Just to bring you up to speed, doing spiritual warfare on the governments of the world gets Satan to just not have wars and just freeze everything because he has his people in charge of every country so he could wait. So what we do now is we go after their economies. And you'll see. This will work. Let's start with the central banks. Now, central banks aren't like regular banks. They administer the banks and they deal with the money supply of the country. Okay? My Heavenly Father, Jehovah, I come to you now, B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach, with a binding on the central banks going after the 25 largest ones in the world. And when I read the name of the bank out, I bind all the unclean spirits from being inside any person that owns, operates, controls, or works for any of these central banks. The demons must immediately leave them, never to return to them again, as well as leaving every person who lives in the same house as them. In addition, no unclean spirit can be in any of the buildings or facilities owned, operated, or controlled, or leased, or rented by these central banks for the next 10 years continuously. And if anybody goes into these buildings, they must immediately depart from the person before they enter. And they shall not be allowed in these buildings in any way, shape, or form, inside a living thing or not, for 10 years continuously beginning now. And they shall not appear to any of these people or guide them, lead them, direct them, help them, assist them, lie to them, deceive them, for 10 years continuously beginning now. This is all done b'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach. Shall apply to the following central banks: Federal Reserve Bank, European Central Bank, People's Bank of China, Bank of Japan, Bank of England, Swiss National Bank, Bank of France, Deutsche Bundesbank, that's Germany, Bank of Italy, Bank of Canada, Reserve Bank of India, Central Bank of Russia, Banco de España, Bank of Korea, Reserve Bank of Australia, Central Bank of Brazil, Netherlands Bank, Central Bank of Saudi Arabia, Monetary Authority of Singapore, Central Bank of Turkey, Central Bank of Hong Kong, Central Bank of Mexico, Central Bank of Taiwan, Central Bank of Indonesia, Central Bank of South Africa. This is all done b'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach, and you can agree with this if you like. See, the central bank controls the money supply of the country, the interest rates that the regular little neighborhood banks charge, and stuff like that. They manufacture money out of thin air. They're guilty of Ponzi schemes, frauds, everything else, all of them. They're just lying operations like Satan. So when they can no longer get their input from the demons, which is now, what do? They fall apart. Because the people running them are morons. Satan likes to put morons in control of things because these people are so dumb they can't do anything on their own. They got to keep going to Satan because they don't know what to do. Okay. Well, to make it more effective, let's get all the big banks. This is putting AI to good use. My Heavenly Father, Jehovah, B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach, I bind all the unclean spirits from remaining inside any person that owns, operates, controls, or works for any of these private commercial banks I'm going to name and all the subsidiaries around the world and all the other companies that they own around the world. And they show unclean spirits have to depart from all these people that own, operate, control, work for them, as well as every person who lives in the same house as them, as well as no unclean spirit can go back into these people again, and no unclean spirit can go into these people again that's never been in them for 10 years continuously beginning now, and no unclean spirit shall be able to appear, guide, lead, direct, help, assist, give advice to any of these people, and no unclean spirit can enter into any building, airplane, boat, plane, train, hotel, or facility or piece of land owned, operated, or controlled by any of these banks for the next 10 years continuously. And if they're in a person that enters into any of these things, they must beforehand immediately depart from that person. And these bindings and commands are set in place irrevocably for 10 years continuously, beginning now, B'Shem Yeshua Mashiach, and they shall apply to the following banks. J.P. Morgan Chase, Bank of America, Industrial and Commercial Bank of China, China Construction Bank, Agricultural Bank of China, Bank of China, HSBC, anywhere in the world, BNP, Paribas Bank, anywhere in the world, all these banks, any and all their branches anywhere in the world, Citigroup, Mitsubishi UFJ Financial Group, Credit Agricole, Barclays Bank, Deutsche Bank, Mizuho Financial Group out of China, SMBC Group, Wells Fargo, Goldman Sachs, Morgan Stanley, UBS, Santander Group, ING Group, Royal Bank of Canada, Societe Generale, UniCredit, Toronto Dominican Bank. And I submit this to you, my Heavenly Father, B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach. And if you're a believer, you can agree with this. So let's mess up. These are the biggest banks, the biggest central banks and commercial banks. We'll mess that up. So that's the banking. Now, let's get the largest shipping companies with ships. Okay. We never did this spiritual warfare targeting this acutely, though he's probably having really bad days, Satan. Not bad enough, though. Okay, my Heavenly Father, Jehovah, I submit to you for binding and spiritual warfare commands to unclean spirits and loosing that I bind the unclean spirits from remaining inside any person that owns, operates, controls, or works for any of these maritime shipping companies whose names I'm going to read. When I read the name, all the unclean spirits have to depart from these people that own, operate, control, or work for it, as well as all the people that live in the same house as them. And they can never return back to these people, and no unclean spirit can go into these people for the next 10 years continuously, beginning now. And no unclean spirit can appear to them, guide them, lead them, direct them, help them, assist them, deceive them. And no unclean spirit can come into any building, vehicle, boat, vessel, airplane, or anything else owned, operated, or controlled, or rented, or leased by these maritime shipping companies for the next 10 years continuously. And if a person enters into any of these things, the unclean spirit has to exit the person before they get into these things physically. And these commands and bindings and loosings are set in place for the next 10 years continuously. B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach. And you can agree. Well, and the names of these companies are as follows: MSC, Maersk, CMA, CGM, Costco Shipping, Hapag Lloyd, ONE, Evergreen Marine, Yang Ming, Zim, HMM, PIL, Wan Hao Lines, SM Line, Zhanggu Logistics, X-Press Feeders, Sea Lead Shipping, TS Lines, SITC, Regional Container Lines, at RCAS Line, KMTC, Matson, IRISL, RCL, Pasha, Hawaii. And I submit all this to you, my Heavenly Father, B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach. And if you're a believer, please agree with this, and you can agree with it even when it's a video. Okay? So we're trying to mess up massive corporations for all Satan. Let's get the airlines, not the airports. We'll get the airlines. We'll get all the planes and the factories and the offices and everything. I just do the 25 largest because that causes enough trouble. We'll get it. There we go. B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach, my Heavenly Father, I bind all the unclean spirits from remaining inside any person that owns, operates, controls, or works for any of the following airlines I'm going to read the names of. When I read the names of these airlines off, all the unclean spirits have to depart from every person that owns, operates, controls, or works for these airlines, and they shall never return to these people, and they also have to depart from everyone who lives in the same house as these people. And no unclean spirit can return or go into these people that was never in there before for the next 10 years continuously. And no unclean spirit shall appear to these people, guide them, lead them, direct them, help them, assist them, give them advice, or deceive them, or lie to them about anything for the next 10 years continuously. And no unclean spirit is allowed to be in any airplane or building or boat or vehicle or land owned, operated, or controlled or leased or rented by any of these airlines for the next 10 years continuously. And any person entering into these facilities, you unclean spirits have to depart from them before they get into these facilities. And this is all done irrevocably for the next 10 years continuously. B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach, and shall apply to American Airlines, Delta Airlines, United Airlines, Southwest Airlines, China Southern Airlines, China Eastern Airlines, Ryanair, Air China, Lufthansa, Indigo, British Airways, Air France, Turkish Airlines, Emirates, Latam Airlines, ANA, Japan Airlines, Qatar Airways, Air Canada, EasyJet, Singapore Airlines, KLM, Iberia, JetBlue, Alaska Airlines. And this is all done irrevocably for the next 10 years continuously. B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach. Well, I imagine Satan is not having a good day. These people were likely never demon tossed before, and now they're all screaming and trying to figure out what happened. So the demons could be in the airport, but they can't go on any of the planes from the big airlines, so that doesn't do them a lot of good, does it? Let's go after golf clubs and resorts where the elite go. Let's see what I get on these. It ought to be a fun one. I don't think there's very many non-Satan bots going there. Okay. My Heavenly Father, Jehovah, I bind all the unclean spirits from remaining inside any person that's a member or has been a guest at any of the following country golf club resorts that I will name in the last, well, that's not right, let's start over. B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach, I bind all the unclean spirits from remaining in any person and their families that have memberships in any of these country club golf resorts of any size membership. And I command the unclean spirits to immediately depart from them and every person in their house. And they shall never return to these people. And no unclean spirit shall guide, lead, direct any of these people or deceive them or lie to them for the next 10 years continuously. And for the next 10 years continuously, any person entering into any of these facilities owned, operated, controlled by these country club resort golf clubs, the unclean spirits have to depart from the person before they enter into these facilities or grounds. And it shall cover the golf course itself and the grounds that they own. And this is done for the next 10 years continuously. B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach, and shall apply to the following facilities. And this would include the main facility and all the subsidiaries around the world, if they have any. The Broadmoor, Pebble Beach Resorts, Augusta National Golf Club, Pinehurst Resort, Bandon Dunes Golf Resort, Kinwa Island Golf Resort, the Ocean Course at Kiowa Island, the Greenbrier Stream Song Resort, Cabot Clubs, St. Andrews Links, Glen Eagles Hotel and Country Club, Royal Country Down Golf Club, Leopard Creek Country Club, Emirates Golf Club, Jumeirah Golf Estates, the Dubai, no, it's, what the heck is this? The Cubai with a C. I can't read this. Is something. No, it's Dubai. The Dubai Creek Golf and Yacht Club, Mission Hills Golf Club, Casa de Campo Resort, Four Seasons Resort, the Ritz-Carlton Golf Resort, Hualal Resort, Bay Hill Club and Lodge, Sea Island Resort, and Black Course at Trump National Doral. Submit this to you, my Heavenly Father, B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach, and all you believers can agree with that. Now let's do the 25 largest weapons manufacturers. Military. Hashem Yeshua HaMashiach, my Heavenly Father, I bind the unclean spirits from remaining inside any person who owns, operates, controls, or works for any of these global weapons and military manufacturing concerns. Unclean spirits have to immediately depart from these companies if they own, operate, control, or work there. And also, they must depart from everyone who lives in the same house as these people. And they never return again to these people. And no unclean spirit is allowed in any building, vehicle, plane, piece of land, or hotel that's owned, operated, controlled, rented, or leased by these corporations for the next 10 years continuously. And if any person attempts to go into or is headed into any of these facilities or places or buildings or lands, the unclean spirits have to depart from them before they go in there, because the unclean spirits are not allowed in there, and they cannot appear to any of these people or guide them, lead them, direct them, help them, or assist them, or deceive them. This is all done b'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach, and shall apply to the following companies: Lockheed Martin, RTX, Northern Grumman, Boeing Defense. This shall apply to every subsidiary and other company these companies own as well. B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach. Boeing Defense, General Dynamics, BAE Systems, Airbus Defense and Space, Leonardo, that's the company, Sales Group, Rhine Metral, L.A. Harris, no, L3 Harris, okay. Huntington Ingalls Industries, Elbit Systems, Israel Aerospace, Saab, Aselsan, Rustech, Norinco, Aviation Industry Corporation of China, China Aerospace Science and Industry Corporation, Hanwha Aerospace, Mitsubishi Heavy Industries, Kayani Group, Edge Group, Denel. And I submit all this to you, my Heavenly Father, B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach. Let's do some cleansing of the airports themselves. My Heavenly Father, B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach, I bind all the unclean spirits from being inside any person in any of the airports whose names I'm going to read off in a few minutes. The unclean spirits, when I read the name, must depart from every person that's in this airport, in the parking areas, in the runway, in the terminals, in the gift shop, or on any of the grounds or parking or roads that the airport has. And the unclean spirits have to immediately depart from people in these places, and no unclean spirit can be inside any of these facilities or places anymore for 10 years continuously, beginning now. And if any person goes into any of these places, they must immediately depart from that person before they get in. And no unclean spirit can be in these places or facilities for 10 years continuously, nor can they appear to these people or guide them, lead them, direct them, help them, or assist them in any way, shape, or form using any means at their disposal for the next 10 years continuously. I submit this to you, my Heavenly Father, B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach, shall apply to the following airports: Hartsfield, Jackson, Atlanta International Airport, Dubai International Airport, Dallas, Fort Worth International Airport, London Heathrow Airport, Tokyo Haneda Airport, Denver International Airport, Istanbul Airport, Los Angeles International Airport, Paris Charles de Gaulle Airport, Frankfurt Airport, Singapore Shanghai Airport, Amsterdam Schiphol Airport, India Gandhi International Airport, Incheon International Airport, that's in South Korea, Guangzhou Baoyun International Airport, that's China, Beijing Capital International Airport, Shanghai Pudong International Airport, Madrid Barajas Airport, Munich Airport, Chicago O'Hare International Airport, Toronto Pearson International Airport, Mexico City International Airport, Soekarno Hatta International Airport in Indonesia, Sao Paulo Guarulhos International Airport in Brazil, Hong Kong International Airport, and I submit all this to you, effective for the next 10 years continuously, B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach. Well, we certainly covered a lot of ground there today. So the unclean spirits are going to have their hands full. All these people are going to want to know what happened. And the airports are completely screwed up for them. They're not going to want to travel in the airports. So they're all going to scream to Satan they want private planes. I'm going to think of some other things. We could do taxi cab companies in major cities. Get in the cab and your demon's gone. We can do shipping companies, railroads, construction companies, hotels. So we'll keep going. Satan doesn't have the ability to communicate with many people at the same time like our God does. He has to go one at a time. So we'll just wear him out, make him weary. If he doesn't spend some time and attention on the people that we toss when they're crying out, which he can't go do anything with them, we're going to get defections. My Heavenly Father, Jehovah, B'Shem Yeshua Mashiach, I pray we, in these days, start getting people that serve the unclean spirits to defect and serve you and your son Yeshua. And I ask this now of you, and they become good believers. B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach. And you can agree with that. And we could also toss the motorcycle gangs. There's no motorcycle gangs in the Middle East, by the way. Nobody puts up with that. They're just a bunch of assassins and drug dealers and criminals. All right. Let me get a prayer out for us. Oh, let me read the chat. Maybe somebody asked a question or something. So let's go through what's going on, and then we'll do our spiritual warfare. It's heating up. Okay. Before I forget, we do have a prayer request. This is complicated. Okay, I'll put this prayer out, and you can agree with it if you're a believer. My Heavenly Father, I think we got enough today to cause a major headache, and then we'll just keep giving it to him every day without fail. Okay, you can do it without me too. Be my guest. You know, you got transportation, you got food, you got money and banking, you got war and weapons, you got the governments, you got car companies, truck companies that make the cars and the trucks and the planes, hotels, resorts, gambling casinos, clothing manufacturers, drug companies, railroads, jewelry. We'll go through them. We'll get them all. Hashem Yeshua HaMashiach, my Heavenly Father, I pray for me and my wife and all the true believers for your peace, safety, protection, and everybody would have strength, stamina, and your healing and recuperative power would flow through all of us, and we'd keep getting healed, and our animals and pets and ourselves would be safe and secure and happy, healthy, and whole, always. We would have adequate money and then some. If we need work, we would find work. If we need additional clients or customers, we find those. And we'd be at peace and joy and calm and rest. And pray for the peace of Jerusalem. And I pray for, well, that's about it. And I send my shalom to all those who love Yeshua HaMashiach and pray for better videos and we understand the Bible better. B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach, and I'm out, guys. Thanks.